found the Tony Basilio stream at tonybasilio.com or on your smartphone or tablet. Another thrilling, chilling, and sometimes spilling edition of the Basilio Show is on the way next. Tips are always appreciated here at tonybasilio.com. Here we go, ladies and germs. Let's do this.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville. Fanrun
Stack,
Radio.
Jack, pack, fired up, focused, prepared. My name's Tony Basilio. It's a great day to be alive and well with you. It's an awesome day to be with you. We're pretty jacked. Everybody's wondering what's Tennessee going to do at quarterback. Hey, I'm in the boat. I'm in the boat with you. We're back right in this studio where we were a little while ago. Let's see here. Let's see. Where were we? Last night, we were in here for a pretty good long while, about 90 minutes after a double overtime game. That was pretty wild. Not going to lie to you. And here we are. This is next level. Talking to some people internally about the basketball deal last night, which I'll unpack further on the blog tomorrow. They think Nate Ament kind of woke up last night. He got kind of pissed off for the first time this year, showed some real emotion. It kind of got real. When he had 4 turnovers and 4 points, I was told that basically he went to the bench and he was like, that's it. And he snapped. And they started giving him the basketball. So that was fun to watch. We've got a ton to get into today. Watson Brown's going to join us next hour. Greg Pickle on the other side of our A block. Greg Pickle, who works for On3 by way of Penn Live, has been covering Penn State for, well, close to a couple of decades. He's very good. We've had him on in the past as we've commingled. We had him on back when Tennessee hired Tim Banks and a time or two as well in the past. But Greg's excellent, and he's consented to coming on with us, and we're looking forward to that. We're going to unpack the Penn State 4. You know, with Tennessee in the portal this year, it's been kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. And Sean Sinclair and Brian, welcome in. Glad to have both of you here. The good is, obviously, what Jim Knowles and those guys have been able to accrue and pull from Penn State's football team, which is very good defense last year. Probably didn't perform to the level of talent they have in terms of just the caliber of player there. But what they were able to do, speaking of the Vols, is get 3 really good younger players to go with a veteran player in the middle linebacker, and then the safety's a really hard-hitting kid. And we're going to talk about all of them today with Greg Pickle. We're going to unpack it. Because there were a couple other guys running around loose that they might add or might look at adding. I don't know. I wanted to get the wiggity Mech, Daddy Mech, but, you know, he's at NC State now. So Greg Pickle is going to join us. So that's the good. The bad is that Tennessee got off to a very slow start in the portal because organizationally they're just not front-footed. I've come to that conclusion. Look, the portal thing's not over. I don't believe we're going to know what any of these teams have, and I'm hoping they get dumb lucky at the end of this because that's what's going to happen when it comes to the quarterback. But they got off to a very slow start because organizationally, the word on them, as I talk and was on the phone yesterday for a decent amount of time with people, is that the word on the streets is these guys are slow. The word in the agency community is these guys are slow. The word at other Southeastern Conference schools is these guys are slow, and these guys are slow. And so what it all adds up to is the ugly. The ugly is when you have a situation happen. Look, I don't care that Lane Kiffin came here and overpaid for that guy. I didn't want him. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wanted to pay $5 million to some damaged goods quarterback. No thanks. Plus a guy doesn't listen, plus a guy that plays basketball with his boys in season. I mean, you just don't need that guy, okay? But that's fine. If Lane Kiffin wants to pay for him, he wants to pay for him, that's fine. But Lane not only got him, he got a guy that could have been a prospect for Tennessee from Elon, a name that was kind of floating around out there. He got both of them. Why? We are flat-footed. We are slow. We are not in the game. We are telling people we're on probation, for crying out loud. And, you know, and I'm just sitting here going, okay, well, what do? I got to call balls and strikes. I'm not here to sing for my supper. We get on here after games. I want us to be as good as possible. Listen, here's the deal. I'm going to be really honest with you, okay? The better the football team is, the more money me and Laura make at the end of the year. It's pretty simple. The better the football team is, the more money William Pattison makes. The more money Russell Smith makes. The more money John Reed makes. The more money Ryan makes. I mean, none of us want to see these guys fail. None of us. And so, well, you're just trying to start things up. Why would I try to start things up? Well, you want the clicks and the hit. Listen, if the thing falls into the crapper, it's hard as hell to make a living doing this. It just is. So we're at the spot right now where they obviously need a quarterback. Well, Tony, how do you know that? They were begging the guy from Arizona State. The optics of that a couple nights ago to not sign with LSU. Come here and let us make you rich. Okay? They're begging the guy. Begging him. Like begging him. Because they don't think the McIntyre guy is ready because he is not big enough to play. So I don't know what to. I'm getting ready to say my line, Bri. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. And now they're up the creek without a paddle because they're slow. Here's what I was hoping. I was hoping they would take a big swing on the first two guys and then swing a miss on Sorsby and on the other guy that they were interested in. We had great information on that. Those are the two guys that they targeted. Those are the two guys they wanted. Those two guys got very expensive very quickly, and they kind of dallied around. And, okay, they didn't get either guy. Fine. Neither did most teams. People keep saying, well, why do you keep saying what you're saying about GMAC? Why do you? Well, first of all, I'm just telling you what I'm being told. I'm not making anything up, okay? But even more than that, if you don't believe that, follow the context clues. Why would you be begging that kid from Arizona State if you thought GMAC could play? But here's the problem. Where is the list of the other 4 or 5 guys? Why aren't you hearing any names right now? You want to know why you're not hearing any names? Because there was no plan. You immediately, if you're Tony Vitello, I watched him operate. As soon as when he got the kid that was a pitcher at Alabama, this is how Tony operated, okay? I'm just going to tell you. The kid that gave him, the Holman kid, pissed him off, and and the dad made Tony mad or whatever, and he went and pitched at LSU from Alabama. Tennessee had him. But Tony pivoted right off of him and had 2 more guys on his list. That's what you do. You got to have a plan. How often in life does your first thing happen when you wake up in the morning? Those of you that own, operate a business, or manage people. How often does it go according to plan? The answer is very seldom. So you better have contingencies. You better have, okay, well, when these two, we'll try to swing on these guys, but when it doesn't happen, who are our other five? And then you immediately go get one of them. You can't get to this spot. You've got a season to play now next year. And Danny White, he ain't charging discount tickets for discount quarterbacks. Hey, we've got two young quarterbacks we're going to grow. Be patient with us. I'm going to charge you full price. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. Rick Barnes, okay? Last year, say what you want to say about Rick Barnes. Last year they had their two guard lined up, okay? And sometimes it doesn't work. But they had their two guard lined up. He fell through. They went to Isaac McNeely. He couldn't get into school. They went to somebody else, Rodney Rice. He wanted too much money. They almost had him. But if they would have paid Rodney Rice $3 million, they were going to have to pay what's his face $3 million, and they were already paying Nate Emmett $4 million. But it wasn't because they weren't trying. This Heupel guy, man, he's making me insane here. Where is the plan? No offense to him. No offense. You make it $10 million. Where's the plan? I want you to make it, man. I don't want you to get fired. Sean Sinclair, welcome in.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Thoughts?
I've had an interesting week. Very interesting week. Last week at this time, you asked me to assess or what were my thoughts on our portal activity so far. And 3 times during the show, I said, well, as of this moment, this is what I think. And then I said also at least 3 times, anything could change in an hour over the next weekend. By this time next week, we could be sitting here with every need met. That's fine. And then through the week is interesting. I got several people reached out to me. One guy that was, everybody would know his name, was very influential in the athletic department. One guy who's currently in the athletic department. They all, a few listeners to your show, a couple of patients, and they said, I heard your talk, or heard you on Wednesday, and I agree with most everything you said. Reached out to a couple of said, was I over the top? No, not at all. About time someone showed passion. Had a fellow on, I hope he's listening today. I'm not going to give his alias, but on VolQuest, he reached out and said that I threw a fit on Wednesday, and I thoroughly embarrassed myself. That's okay. You can't be there for everybody. Some of these guys here. So who knows? It's been an interesting week of how people view this portal and the way our team's staring down next year's schedule. It looks like Jim Knowles and his buddies from Penn State have gone out and recruited some players to fill in. I think their strategy is interesting. It looks like they've gotten guys from Penn State that know the system and can plug in. They can teach in that room all 3 levels. They got a linebacker, got a safety, have 2 guys on the D line. But what's interesting is they were also bringing along guys that are generally don't have a lot of experience, which is interesting to me because the template is being laid out to everybody by Indiana. Go out and get grown men who've experienced college football, have proven production, and let them do their things. So I looked at it. I'm not here to rank anybody, but the number 1 guy we got, Chaz Coleman, has 1 sack and 8 tackles in his 1 year of college football. He's supposedly an incredible prospect. Jordan Norman is more productive. He had a breakout year at Tulane, 6 sacks, but 10 sacks in 3 years. Xavier Gilliam is a redshirt freshman last year with a half a sack and 16 tackles. Now in the secondary they've done something, brought in some experience, and I appreciate that. So I'm not sure what their thoughts are, because it looks like they still have a youth-based team. I think the vast majority of this team next year will be either true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores, which is what we saw this year. And when you have a team like that, you have a team that doesn't have 3 or 4 years in the weight room. You have a team that doesn't have 3 or 4 years in the nutrition program. You have a team that doesn't have 3 or 4 years developing in meeting rooms and on the field. And I think that's part of the reason why people were advocating the change of strength and conditioning. Well, if you're looking at 18, 19, 20-year-old boys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got our guest now, so let's bring him in because he's very, very qualified. We're going to talk about the Penn State for. Greg Pickle now joins on our unsponsored hotline now that we're in 2026 and we lost our hotline sponsor. But if you're interested in jumping in there, reach out to me, commentfan@gmail.com, heard by thousands and thousands and thousands. Greg Pickle, I welcome you in, man. And thanks for coming back to our show. You've always been great. Anytime you've stopped by in the past, I know you've been covering the Penn State scene in the old days, in the new days, in the crazy days that we're all living through, man. I mean, what must it be like to be you and basically see, you know what this reminds me of with Penn State? I'm an old USFL fan. It reminds me of when the Arizona Wranglers and the Chicago Blitz swapped franchises, and the whole Chicago Blitz team went to Arizona, and the whole Arizona team went to Chicago, and they kept their team names with what's going on with Iowa State and Penn State. It's bizarre, man.
Yeah, it certainly is. Good morning from State College North, guys. It's good to be back with you again, and hope you're doing well in State College South. Yeah, it's a fascinating time for Penn State football, and certainly for Tennessee football as well. Matt Campbell, of course, comes to Penn State, and as expected, has brought a lot of Iowa State people with him, partially because he was going to do it anyway, and partially because staff and a lot of guys on defense have made the jump from Penn State to Tennessee or other places. So a lot of roster work needed to be done in State College this offseason. He's done a fair amount of it so far. And certainly some of the guys that are now in Tennessee, I have no doubt he would love to have kept if he could.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, right? From Penn State perspective, a bunch of these guys have jumped into the portal. What I don't understand is why they've let so many of these defenders go. Did that surprise you, or that so many defenders jumped into the portal? Because I think Matt Campbell's going to do a really nice job there. Look, Greg, I grew up in a Penn State family. I grew up on the Penn State Story on Sunday morning with Ray Scott and George Paterno and all that stuff on WGAL Channel 8 out of Lancaster back in the day. I'm from southeastern Pennsylvania myself. Family full of Penn State graduates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm watching this and I'm going, they're letting bona fide ball players just go into the portal. What, is that by plan? Is that just because these kids wanted to get paid? What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you start with Coleman, his defensive line coach. Deion Barnes left for a different SEC school, South Carolina, and obviously he came to play for him and for Jim Knowles and for James Franklin, and none of those people were at Penn State anymore. So I think him going into the portal was a guarantee. The shock was that he didn't end up back at Ohio State. He's from Ohio, and most people assumed that was a done deal from the second his name hit the portal. And lo and behold, he goes and takes some visits, hangs out with Lane at LSU, obviously checked out Ohio State, and went to see Tennessee as well, and ended up thinking that the Volunteers and reuniting with Jim Knowles and Anthony Poindexter and the rest of the group that came from Penn State to Tennessee was in the best interest of his future career. So that was the biggest surprise to me, not that he left, but that he ended up at Tennessee. I know you guys were talking a few minutes ago about his, maybe not as much production as you would have liked to see, I guess, from a freshman who has his ranking, but he was sick for a good chunk of the year. I think that really hurt him in the weight department. And I think when he came back, they had to use him situationally. I don't think he was going to really hold up against the run against the likes of Iowa and some of the other teams Penn State played down the stretch. So very talented player. There's a reason so many schools, including Penn State, wanted him for the 2026 season. So, that one didn't surprise me when it comes to Xavier Gilliam, the other defensive lineman. I just think that he's a guy that wanted to test the waters, and the waters were pretty good. And so, the biggest thing to me with all these Penn State defensive guys that have decided to move on, and we'll get into a Amari Campbell, I'm sure, as well. It's just that when the coaching staff changes like this, everyone's a possibility to leave. I think there's some guys that are coming back to Penn State on that defense that are maybe surprising to some in terms of them not deciding to move on and instead, come back to Penn State. So it's the portal, man. It's 2026 college football. You just never can count on really anything to go the way you think it's going to because there's so many variables to play.
I'm very excited about all four of these players for various reasons. And, let's just go through them because Chaz Coleman's obviously the prize of the bunch. Look, when the likes of Ohio State and LSU and Tennessee, among others, are fighting for you, those are the three finalists. But you and I both know that's a guy that could have played anywhere in the country. He could have called any coach. And to Sean's point, the production on paper is not there, but a guy that I really trust and know, Ken Miller, who's just a Penn State freak, was like in near tears when he saw this guy go into the portal because his belief is this guy is going to be one of these high-impact ends that Penn State's produced in recent years. He thinks he's of that timber. How do you think he projects to the SEC as he grows is the first question. And then secondly, one of the knocks I hear on him is that Jim Knowles, they want him to grow into an every down player. And if you could you elaborate on that, like how his freshman year and then the transformation into becoming just a more viable every down or more down playable player?
Yeah, so it's the weight thing. It goes back to the weight thing I talked about, right? So I think he came, freshmen, obviously not all freshmen show up equal, especially defensive ends. He was a little bit on the thinner side when he got to Penn State, former standout basketball player in high school. I think Penn State, really ramped up its push for him in part at one point early in his recruiting process based on the absurd athleticism he was putting on tape as a basketball player. So, but again, when you're a defensive end playing basketball the way that he plays it, you're not typically the biggest guy. So certainly adding weight was always going to be a part of his journey to reach, for his entire game to match the athleticism, the quick twitch, the speed off the snap, and so on and so forth. So I think that's really where his game is going to have to take the next step in the SEC, or regardless of where he ended up. Certainly now at Tennessee, but it would have been the case had he stayed at Penn State or had he went to Ohio State. And like I mentioned, he was dealing with some illness in the middle part of this season. I think that obviously not only kept him out of the weight room, but I think we all know when we're sick, you're likely to lose a few pounds, and he wasn't a guy who could really afford to for the task he has of trying to, hold up against the run and also continue to grow and deal with, to the point one of you guys made, some of the grown men offensive linemen you deal with if you're playing in the Big Ten or in the SEC. And so that's going to be the next part of his development, and it's a big winter and spring for him in that regard. There's no question to continue trying to add the necessary weight to be an every down player. But, Jim Knowles knows what he's capable of, and I'm sure the rest of the Tennessee staff is well aware of what it'll take for him to put that weight on that's going to be necessary to, make him an every down player. So, yeah, the prize there's no question, but certainly not the only one coming from Tennessee, or coming from Penn State rather than Tennessee.
Who does he comp to when you look at because they've had so many great ones come through there in recent years. They're all over the NFL. Is there anybody in particular he comps to?
Yeah, Odafe Oweh comes to mind. I mean, I think, to your point, I think he has a little bit of a lot of those guys who have come through Penn State along the defensive line over the last few years. Oweh comes to mind from a perspective of a guy who was a little bit thinner. Chaz Coleman's certainly more football advanced at this point than Odafe Oweh was when he first got to Penn State, but both have a basketball background as well. The speed component, obviously a big part of their game, and both guys were a tad bit undersized during the early part of their careers. So, he didn't get to Penn State as much of a physical specimen from, top to bottom, strength and weight and all that kind of stuff as Parsons. And maybe sort of in the ballpark of Carter in that regard, but I think Carter was still probably a little bit bigger. So, but he has a little bit of all of those guys, which is why Penn State wanted him so bad, and also why you saw so many heavy hitters line up to try and get him once he hit the portal this offseason.
Yeah, he's a guy where you can't look at the numbers and go, yeah, that's kind of what you're getting, because those types of things can really be deceiving. I mean, he really projects to be a great player. Now, my question for you is, how long till Tennessee would see the impact of that on the SEC level? Will it take him a season, do you believe, to get acclimated? Physically, will he be able to jump right in and have an impact in the fall of 2026, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I certainly think that, his trajectory throughout this season so far at Penn State, and certainly, like I said, it was impacted a little bit by some off-field stuff outside of his control. But certainly when he got to Penn State and the gains he made from last January until August are part of the reason why they said, hey, look, we're going to play this guy immediately, and we're going to get him right on the field. And then up until the point where he had to miss some time, he was continuing on that same trajectory in terms of, getting a little bit better each day and each week. So, I mean, I think Penn State fans who have followed his journey so far would be very surprised if he was not a key part of this Tennessee defense this year. You hate to throw too high expectations on second-year players, but, I mean, when you look at what he was able to do early in the season for Penn State when healthy,
yep,
and some of the stuff he did that didn't end up on the stat sheet,
yeah,
I mean, it's a dream to work with. And so I would be very surprised if he's not a key part of this Tennessee defense in 26, and I think it's fair for fans and the coaching staff to expect that to be the case.
Next guy I want to talk about is a veteran player. There's a couple veterans here that are really, I think, guys that are going to make Tennessee fans' eyes pop when they see these guys. And I'm calling them the 10 State 4. Dewan Lane is the next guy. He's a really hard-hitting safety. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. In Knowles' defense, was he the adjuster back there that was setting the defense, or was that the Mac kid? Which guy played that role?
Yeah, so Zachy Wheatley played that role for Penn State. He's now
Okay.
up to the NFL. Yeah, so
Okay.
Wheatley played that role for Penn State. I think if Wheatley had gone down or had to exit the game for any reason, Lane probably would have been next up. He kind of
Okay.
would bounce back and forth with King Mack, who you also mentioned there, who's now in the portal going to NC State, as a, kind of the top backup there. But yeah, Lane's a very talented player as well. And I think no matter what you look at, you can look at this film and there's some obviously good things and maybe not as good things, but I think it's pretty simple. Anthony Poindexter, the new safeties coach and co-defensive coordinator at Tennessee, has been successful everywhere he's been developing safeties. And so for him to, go to the brain trust that was already at Tennessee and say, pound the table for this being one of the guys that he wanted to come with if he entered the portal, I should say pretty much all that needs to be said about what the kid's potential is. Will he reach it? That'll be up to him and the way this defense functions. But I just think for everything Anthony Poindexter has done developing safeties over his long career following his Hall of Fame playing days, to me, that would be the biggest takeaway. It's just that this is one of the guys he wanted to join him at Tennessee in his next stop.
And he can absolutely hammer people, yes?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
That's his game.
Yeah, there's some other parts of his game that need to be refined a bit without question, but he'll thump you. There's no doubt about that. Yes, he has put plenty of that on film over the course of his career so far.
Parts that need to be refined. Elaborate.
I just think it's like any guy who, projected as a potential starter early in training camp and then sort of had a more back and forth role between being a first-team guy and a second-team guy. It's just the little things. He is a thumper, but sometimes that leads to missed tackles, and sometimes it leads to bad angles that open things up for an offense in a way that was not necessarily there otherwise. So it's just the little stuff, the technique stuff that, all these guys who are on the cusp of maybe being a starter in the Big Ten or in the SEC but aren't, have to clean up to reach that level.
As we're joined by Greg Pickle, he's with On3. He was at Penn Live for a while. Look, his work is excellent. It has been for a decade plus covering Penn State football. And again, he's seen multiple iterations here, multiple stops along the way, coaching staffs, the comings, the goings, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now we're in the middle of a huge transition from Penn State, a windfall for Tennessee with not only, and I want to ask him about these assistant coaches that have joined, but not only Jim Knowles, but the Penn State 4 right now who are on campus, two of whom we've unpacked, two of whom to come. All right, let's go to the middle of the field. Dewan Lane, no doubt. Is you think there's a chance that he gets the adjuster role here at Tennessee in light of the fact that he's used to the defense, in light of the fact that you say if Wheatley wasn't going to have that responsibility, he would have at Penn State? Is that a pretty safe assumption that he gets the first crack at that in the spring?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, without knowing as much about Tennessee's current situation at that position as I do Penn State.
Oh, they suck. Oh, yeah, they're bad. Oh, yeah, they're bad.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, without question, I think he'll have the first crack at it. And so, like I was saying earlier, he'll have every opportunity to earn the chance. And Anthony Poindexter, Jim Knowles know what he can do. So now it's just going about going out and earning it, which sometimes these transfers do seamlessly, and then sometimes it's not as neat and tidy as it should be, as you guys know well.
Moving along. Amari Campbell played some really good football at North Carolina, and he was really good at Penn State in his year there at middle linebacker. Correct me if I'm wrong. He had the dot. Did he have the? Was he the green dot guy for them?
He was, yeah.
With the transmitter. Tell me what we're getting and what we're going to see in Amari Campbell.
Yeah, Penn State would have been in a world of hurt had they not landed Amari Campbell out of the transfer portal last offseason. Their other top linebacker, Tony Rojas, was hurt early in the year. And they didn't really have any other options to turn to. Campbell almost never came off the field. I don't have his snap count sheet in front of me at the moment, but he probably approached 700 snaps, I would guess. Just rarely, if ever, came off the field on game days for Penn State, and was just incredibly reliable. And based on what he put out on social media, pretty clear that he thought his value was more than what Penn State was offering him to come back. So he hit the portal. And Jim Knowles and Anthony Poindexter and the staff down in Tennessee obviously agreed with his assessment of himself compared to what Penn State was willing to offer him to stay in State College for the 26 season. It's just a very good, reliable player. Didn't really have too many missed tackle issues. I think at times the fatigue became an issue, but that was really through no fault of his own. Penn State, after Rojas got down, just didn't really have anywhere to turn when it came to putting somebody on the field. They could call Jim Knowles' defense. As you mentioned, he was the green dot helmet guy with the transmitter and setting up the defense. So, it just at times fatigue became an issue, but there's not really much you can do about that, or you can't really blame him for being in that position. So otherwise, just a pretty sound tackler, reliable middle of the field defender who can play the run and the pass. So I think Tennessee fans, they haven't watched his Penn State film, will enjoy that. I think they'll enjoy seeing him on game days for the Vols as well.
The first shall be last, Greg Pickle, because Xavier Gilliam was the first to jump of these four, and he pulled a couple of the other guys in the boat from what I understand. I understand this kid's an ebullient guy. He's very likable, very popular among his teammates, and his endorsement of Tennessee got Chaz Coleman on campus. Chaz was going to fly over and go to Ohio State from LSU, and Xavier said, hey, man, you need to come see this place. Tell me what Tennessee's getting in Xavier Gilliam.
Yeah, one of the guys who came into this Penn State season as a possible breakout player, but you weren't really sure if he was ready to quite make that jump yet. And he had a really nice season for Penn State, a really underrated season, I thought. A guy who, again, if you're just using the stat sheet as a guide, it's not going to wow you. And if you're just using his school bio where it lists out his weekly stats and things like that, you're not going to be amazed. But if you go watch what he did, play in and play out, he took a huge jump, I thought, from year 1 to year 2 at Penn State. And it just makes you wonder what year 3 is going to look like for him, obviously at a different school, but under Jim Knowles and the staff that's there at Tennessee. So just a really athletic defensive tackle, a guy who's continued to add weight over the course of his so far short career, being a class of 2024 guy. But, yeah, of all the ones, so Coleman's the obvious one, right? Everyone knows what he is, what he was as a recruit, what he's capable of, so on and so forth. But, to me, the underrated addition there is Gilliam, just because it's hard to find defensive tackles who are on an upward trajectory, who are as big as he are and can move like he does. And that's why I think Penn State was so excited about the progress he made heading into the 2025 season. He was able to put that progress on film. And then obviously that enticed a lot of schools. Indiana was interested. Tennessee was interested. I believe there was one other one that's not coming to mind at the moment, maybe Notre Dame, but somebody else is out there interested in him as well, and with good reason. He's just a very exciting player that has only really scratched the surface, I think, of what his potential truly is.
It's going to be really, really interesting. Here's the thing. Not only did they add Knowles, they added two other assistant coaches. Your thoughts on Poindexter, who my Penn State people tell me is an absolute rock star?
Yeah, so Poindexter, like I mentioned earlier, is just an incredibly accomplished developer of talent and a great guy in the room, both from coaching fellow coaches and from the players.
Yeah.
It would be, you could do it, right? In the age of college football in 2026, someone's always going to be mad at you and have something mean to say or rude to say or blame you for this or that. But good luck finding a person saying anything bad about Anthony Poindexter. I mean, he was beloved at Virginia, his alma mater, where he's a college football Hall of Famer. And everywhere he's been before Penn State, it seemed to be the same thing. Everyone was always sad to see him go. And Penn State and its fans, I have no question, are as well. I mean, he just really does his work. And his players improve over the course of not just year one to year two, but their career. So, yeah, obviously Jim Knowles, kind of back to the Coleman conversation, obviously Jim Knowles is the big-ticket item there from the Penn State to Tennessee swap or move, whatever you want to call it. But don't sleep on Anthony Poindexter and how he could help improve the both secondary and safeties room as well.
I hear, Greg, that he's got an excellent presence about him. He's a developer of players. Kids believe in him. He's a tremendous recruiter, like when he gets in front of people. And look, since he's been there, they've added a kid that's a great player from Auburn who's played a bunch of games in Auburn's secondary, who's going to be another great addition. I mean, these guys have really done work in a short amount of time. And then the other ad is a guy that's going to coach ends for the Vols. If you could share a word about him as well.
Yeah, we're talking Andrew Jackson, is that right?
Yes, the great Andrew Jackson. Not to be confused with the president by the same name, and if you visit the Hermitage. But go ahead.
Yeah, a guy who was with James Franklin at Penn State early in his tenure in State College, ended up going to West Virginia for a bit, and then came back to Penn State this offseason to help the group that was there, coach the defensive linemen. And, again, I think that West Virginia pumped out some very good defensive linemen while he was there. He recruits well. He certainly is a guy who can connect with defensive linemen, really any position, but certainly obviously the one he coaches is the most important one. So always got good marks as a recruiter. What his impact was on this Penn State team. When you talk about guys like Gilliam taking a step forward and things like that, it's hard to think it didn't play a role. So another good ad as well. And I think, Jim Knowles has always looked to take guys with him from previous stops that he thinks will help best coach his defense. And it's not an easy defense to learn, and there's a lot of responsibilities. And so for him to think Andrew Jackson was the right fit says a lot from a football perspective, from a coaching perspective, and everything that, the X's and O's part of it. So, he's recruited as well, but, I just think it's a nice step for his career trajectory and a guy that can get the most out of his players.
The one thing that we hear, right, and we've heard this about Knowles. Don't expect miracles in year one. It takes a year. Do you think that Tennessee has a leg up on that with the four guys that they've added? And it seems like they've really shored up things in the middle. Like, you couldn't have drawn that up any better from a Tennessee perspective. You got an impact, as you're saying, Gilliam, an impact defensive lineman in the middle. You got the middle linebacker, the green dot guy that knows the scheme, knows the system, can be like a coach on the field. Maybe I'm projecting here, and maybe I'm dreaming a little bit, but why not? And then you got a guy at safety who can adjust things on the fly, and that role they call the adjuster. It seems like the Vols will have a leg up over where Penn State was 1 year ago with these four additions. Am I wish casting, or do you think that could be reality?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm not sure if it's terribly 50-50. I mean, look, I think one thing that again, is 100% true with Jim Knowles' defense is that they take time to, work themselves into form. And we saw that with his Penn State defense this year for sure. There were absolutely growing pains, and we know that was something that, Ohio State had to kind of work through as well. So, I don't know if I would say this. Penn State fans probably felt similarly about the talent they had coming back and or was coming through the portal, and it didn't quite work out that way. And so I think if you're a Tennessee fan, obviously expect the best. That's what college football fans do, and that's completely fair and reasonable. Also realize that there is now a history both at Ohio State and Penn State of this defense not always being perfect in year one. But what did Jim Knowles learn during his time at Penn State and Ohio State to maybe fix that? Or is there nothing that's going to fix it? And that's just the way it is. That's going to be the big question and decider in part of how this Tennessee defense is. But the coaching acumen is there, the scheme is there, and has been successful. And so, yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you have every reason to hope that maybe this is the time where Jim Knowles has this figured out and doesn't, for whatever reason, either simplifies things or changes his approach to installing things, whatever it may be, to not have that be an issue. But I just also think you have to be aware of the history and what it says about what could happen in 2026.
Yeah, Tennessee's obviously reworked their defense. The question is, does he simplify it enough to allow them? Is that what it was? Were they information overloaded? Because it looked like after the transition from the head coach, and it looked like they were playing freer there sort of at the end of the year. Is that what happened after the head coach was gone?
Yeah, after James Franklin left, Terry Smith, the former cornerbacks coach and assistant head coach, took over as the interim head coach. And, yeah, they simplified some things for sure, guys. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I think, you saw the players be a little bit faster. I just think Jim Knowles' defense is complex. One of the things I always remember James Franklin talking about when he hired Jim Knowles was that part of the reason he was hiring him was to have more answers for more problems in a college football world where there's endless amounts of problems offenses can create you.
Yeah.
And that's great. And that is perfectly fine. And that is what every college football fan and head coach should want. But that also means there's a big memory list of things guys have to remember. There's a lot of things guys have to do, and not only do, but be able to do based on the situation he sees from the press box. And it can be easier said than done to get guys to a point where they're not only doing what they're supposed to do, but doing it fast and at a level that is required to play the best defensive football you can. So, yeah, whatever Penn State sort of simplified and dialed back at the end of James Franklin's tenure, and the switch to Terry Smith certainly helped down the stretch, but so too did who Penn State was playing. They weren't playing,
That's right.
Some offenses that challenged them in ways like running quarterbacks were an issue this year, but that was kind of an off and on issue of the Franklin tenure, no matter who his defensive coordinator was. So, for whatever reason, your guess is as good as mine. But at any rate, I just think that, when you look at how Jim Knowles has gone about his business, he has a system. He is going to implement it. He is going to expect guys to do what he wants them to do and thinks they need to do. And if not, it's going to at times look a little bit ugly, as we've seen again over the course of his couple other stops so far in his coaching career. But when it looks good, as we saw mainly at the end of his time at Ohio State and on occasion during his time at Penn State, it is a bear of a defense to play against, and it can get you as far as you want to go in this sport.
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful visit we've had with you. On the way out, just a tertiary matter, Greg Pickle, one more time of On 3, who has been around the block a time or two and really knows. Look, I hyped you up, and you've lived up to it and then some. Tennessee had an opportunity. They had Bro Pubula a couple days ago, if that's how I say his name, on the hook for the quarterback position, and now he's at Virginia because they kind of dallied around and flirted around publicly a little too much for his liking with Sam Leavitt, who ended up at LSU, and now they're kind of out in the cold. I didn't get Bo and his fit in this offense. You're a lot more qualified to speak to this than I am. Heupel needs a guy that's a runaround guy who can also throw the long ball. Could he have done that with Bo? Could he have worked in this offense, do you think, or was that going to be a miscast deal if they would have ended up here?
Yeah, I know where you guys, your fan base are at in terms of the quarterback situation at Tennessee. It's not the, catbird seat to be sitting in at the moment. And certainly Pubula could have added some interesting flair to that offense. But, yeah, my concern, and we saw it at Penn State, and then we saw it again at Missouri. There were times when he had some deep passes at Missouri, just like at Penn State, but consistency was a question mark. And I think that would have been the case if he had ended up at Tennessee, just like it's going to end up being. Can he, can he run, and can he make things happen with his feet, and can he confuse defenses that way? Yes, and also yes. But is that long ball to open things up or to hit the home run play? Guarantee more often than not. And it's hard to say that based on the body of his work so far. that it is. And that doesn't mean he wouldn't have maybe led Tennessee to good things, or he won't lead Virginia to good things, but certainly that's been a question mark, and it continues to be. I think it's toward the backside of his career here.
You know, it's very interesting because the quarterback deal, obviously, as you know, is just such a mystery. It even for a guy like Heupel, it's like a puzzle, trying to solve it, trying to find somebody that, even in a quarterback-friendly offense like this, you know, the Grunkemeyer guy is committed to Franklin. I don't know that he's signed anything yet. And Tennessee's very desperate at this point to try and find somebody for 2026. If a guy like that is even semi-available, would he be worth kicking the tires on? And is there anybody else you could think of that's out there kind of loose or unattached or on one of these rosters that the Vols should look at?
So that's a great point about Ethan Grunkemeyer. We just talked about that on our Blue White Illustrated YouTube live show that we do every Wednesday morning.
Right.
It's a great point. You know, everything looked like it was signed, sealed, and delivered for him to just head on down to Blacksburg from State College as soon as he hit the portal, and that was going to be that, and he was going to reunite with James Franklin and his former quarterbacks coach, Danny O'Brien, and also the Hokies' new offensive coordinator, Ty Howe, who was the tight ends coach and co-offensive coordinator for Grunkemeyer at Penn State. It all looked like that was going to be locked, sealed, delivered, done, and as of this morning, there's still no official word that is the case. A lot of guys have put out public commitments. And I can't help but to wonder if the situation at Tennessee and maybe some other places. Today's the deadline for Dante Moore to make a call at Oregon about entering the NFL draft or not. There's some other decisions out there in terms of teams needing, quarterbacks potentially or not. And you just can't help but wonder if him and his representation are saying to themselves, we got this Virginia Tech thing in our back pocket, but why don't we just leave? Classes don't start at Virginia Tech until next Monday, the 20th. I believe it is, or maybe it's the 21st, sometime next week at any rate. Why don't we just let things play out here? And maybe we can sweeten the pot at Virginia Tech, or maybe somebody else somewhere else with a better position or offer or what have you may come along based on how things go at the end of the week here with the portal. So, yeah, you can't help but to wonder about that and keep an eye on that, because they're not the only team, Tennessee that is, who's desperate, I'm sure,
Miami,
to find a quarterback. Grunkemeyer is, absolutely. Grunkemeyer is the all-time single accuracy passing percentage leader now at Penn State over the course of his second half tenure after Drew Aller got hurt. So, certainly not all of his passes were, it's not like he was throwing it, 50 and 60 yards down the field all the time. He was asked to do a lot of short and simple stuff, but he was able to do that. And so, he is definitely considering the situation where nothing is finalized yet. Definitely a guy to keep in mind. Well, I'm assuming he'll just end up at Virginia Tech, and this is all, a work in progress to maybe get the best possible outcome financially or otherwise. But certainly you can't help but wonder if it may mean more than that.
You're the man. Much appreciation. You plug the stuff you do, man. Plug that YouTube show as well and what you're doing, Greg.
Yeah, following the transfer portal, just like you guys are, right? There's a lot going on with the roster building. So, yeah, we're at Penn State on 3 on Twitter and on YouTube and all that good stuff at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. So always a pleasure to be with you guys. Hopefully next time we don't go so long between visits, but good luck following the rest of this crazy time in college football.
Much love, brother. I'm going to need a stiff drink when this thing's over. Thank you, my man.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
And I'm talking stiff. Greg Pickle, one more time. I wanted Cinco and Brian to respond to what we just heard. Greg Pickle, look, Tennessee, there's no question. Those 4 players are going to be great impact players on defense. The question now is, what are we going to do at quarterback? What are we going to do at quarterback? Because they don't think George McIntyre's ready. How do you know that? Their actions. And they don't think he's ready. So they got to find somebody. Now, he brings up a really good point, which is they have the ability, because the semester starts later here, because that winterim thing that we have here, that was a byproduct of the COVID deal where they jammed that winter term in there. That helps Tennessee. What doesn't help Tennessee is that the portal closes, Friday. So between now and then, they got to get somebody in that portal or somebody that's already there that they can do business with. The Grunkemeyer thing's interesting. The reason I asked him that is somebody whispered in my ear, hey, ask him about that. And somebody on YouTube had also, and I want to thank them, had mentioned it, which kind of triggered my brain, because I had it on my list here but I was going to omit it if that person on YouTube, and that's why I love having that YouTube chat open, because some of you keep me honest. Some of you aggravate the hell out of me, but some of you keep me honest. We'll continue with more after this. When it's time for your next move, you want to get your precious belongings from point A to point B with your peace of mind intact. That's why you need to call my friends at Gufon Moving and Storage, East Tennessee's moving legend. Gufon Moving and Storage has been helping East Tennesseans move since 1887. That's 138 years, 5 generations. That's even longer than the Dooley, Jones, and Pruitt era combined. Gufon Moving and Storage are pro movers, serving Knoxville, surrounding areas, and interstate moves too, both residential and commercial. And we'll provide you with personalized service that other corporate movers simply cannot. We know how to move all types of items. We pay careful attention to our clients' valuables. Your satisfaction as a customer is our absolute priority. As the oldest continually owned and operated family moving business in the United States, when it's time for your next move, it's Gufon Moving and Storage. And storage, it's secure and vaulted. Our newest offering of commercial storage logistics, we offer receiving, storage, and delivery services for all your business logistic needs. See more at Gufon.com. That's Gufon.com, or check out the link at tclub.team. When it's time for your next move, East Tennessee's moving legend, Gufon Moving and Storage. Life never stops moving. And between the 30-minute commutes, daycare pickups, weekly soccer practice, Tuesday night yoga, X number of coffee runs, and that weekend trip to Grandma's, you're racking up the miles. What you need is a tire that can keep up. A tire designed for doers. A tire that's going to last. Like the exceptionally long-lasting Michelin Defender tire. With an 80,000-mile warranty and the safety and comfort you expect, you can forget all about the miles ahead and focus on getting to your destination or conquering your to-do list. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. That's Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire.
Inward Half is committed to the game and the memorable moments that happen in between. From the tee box to the tailgate, from the green to the big game. For the first birdie with Dad, the first big win with Mom. Friday night lights, Saturday superstitions, Sunday traditions. Fall into the comfort and unparalleled performance of Inward Half. This fall, enjoy the walk-in.
Are you tired of hiding your smile because of crooked teeth? At Knoxville Smiles, we've got the perfect solution. Invisalign. No metal, no wires. Just clear, comfortable aligners that straighten your teeth without anyone noticing. Eat what you want, smile with confidence, and see results in as little as 6 months. Call us today for more information about Invisalign, 865-539-1776. Or just visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Start the new year with comfort and savings from Pipe Wrench Home Services. Tired of high energy bills and constant heating and AC repairs? Ready for a more efficient home? There's never been a better time to upgrade your comfort and take control of your energy costs. Upgrade your HVAC system now with Pipe Wrench Home Services and make no payments until 2027. A new energy efficient system means lower bills, fewer breakdowns, and peace of mind for years to come. And with Pipe Wrench Home Services same-day service guarantee, you won't wait to start enjoying a more comfortable home. Your comfort isn't just our job, it's our promise. Upgrade your HVAC system now with Pipe Wrench Home Services and make no payments until 2027. Schedule your free estimate today at pipewrench.com. Pipe Wrench Home Services, trusted in Knoxville, Maryville, Oak Ridge, and neighboring communities for over 20 years. Same-day service guaranteed, or the visit is free. Offer good with approved credit. Some restrictions apply. Visit pipewrench.com for details.
TB here with Alan of WeShipFloors.com. Tell them about it, Alan.
Hey, I'm Alan from WeShipFloors.com. Our competition's prices, well, they're going up. Ours are coming down. Our waterproof floor Supercore is the best, and right now it starts at $199 a square foot. Our warehouses are full of 4mm, 6mm, and 8mm. You strapped for cash? Well, we have our own in-house financing. Use our room visualizer and order some free samples today. Supercore from WeShipFloors.com. Best products at best price.
Like Alan said, head over to WeShipFloors.com. Use the room visualizer on the website. Drop in any of the 120 Supercore floors virtually into your room and order your free samples today. WeShipFloors.com. Tennesseans, they are us. The best product, the best price. WeShipFloors.com. Living Vol fan, when it's time to get ready for 2026 and what's ahead, there's only one place. It's Alumni Hall. The best and largest selection of Tennessee apparel for the whole family. Top brands, Nike, Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar. And check this out. All the basketball stuff that the Tennessee basketball fan could ever need. Some great Tennessee baseball stuff as well. Any season, any reason. Alumni Hall, 3 locations in Knoxville. Also Murfreesboro, Bristol, and now open, of course, in Johnson City. And anytime online, alumnihall.com. Say it loud, say it proud. The ultimate volunteer shopping experience. Alumni Hall. Tony, be back with you. 865-200-5402 is our numero dos. We are going to hold calls, though. I just give that out. I don't know. What's the word? Reflex? Habit? Back from a break and was doing a voice-to-text to Watson Brown. I'm giving Watson Brown an assignment. I want him to look at this Lampson kid who somebody just brought up, because it's not a bad idea, from Montana State. Bri, we saw him down in Nashville. He's extremely impressive. You and I watched 1AA football. He's got a pretty good arm. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's not the smallest guy in the world either. Bri, what do they list him at, Lampson?
He's 6'2", 210.
Okay.
From California.
And look, he's a 1AA player, a Division II player, which is a level down. Brought a team to the Final Four this year. I'm looking for a quick solution here. You know? I mean, this is like the tune She's Gone when Daryl Hall wrote, I need a drink and a quick decision. The Vols got to make a quick decision here. Because they could never be what Joey Aggs was to me. But he gone. He gone, oh, why? Oh, why? Hey, Cinco, your thoughts on our segment we just did and the message of love, hope, and peace that was just delivered by Greg Pickle. Did I lose my coordinates with Cinco? I think I lost my coordinates with Cinco. Okay. Brian, your thoughts on the message of love and hope that we just heard, and this plug and play on defense, and hopefully we're a step further defensively. Look, our defense is going to be much better than it was last year. How do you know? Well, let me think here. Because it couldn't possibly be any worse. It's not possible. Not possible. So,
well, you have to be encouraged.
I was very encouraged by that conversation with Pickle. Listen, somebody put this in our YouTube chat. My deal is I ain't crusading on our head coach. I love our head coach. I want him to make it. I just don't understand what they're doing. It's this quarterback deal.
Well, I'd like to jump back in if I could.
But I love what they've done with these Penn State players. Like, as in love, love, love. Go ahead, Sink.
Well, again, I agree. I like what they've brought in on defense, but the lack of urgency, and I may be an outlier here, but
yep.
When people talk about Josh Heupel's time here, they talk about the Hendon Hooker year, and the apologists will say, well, what about going to the playoffs? I agree; those were great years. The 2 of the past 3 years, he's been 8-4 in the regular season.
Yep.
I mean, so it's up, down, up, down, up, down. Does that mean next year or this coming year we're going to go back to the playoffs? Maybe. I don't have a crystal ball, but My big problem is not who we're bringing in. My problem is the fact that we are getting considerably less experienced on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring in Chaz Coleman and Xavier Gillum. I'm all for that. They seem to be talented prospects, much like the Campbell kid, the Utley kid, and some of these other guys. But where's the experience like we see with Indiana, we see with some of these other programs that are advancing in the playoffs? When you're telling me that Nathan Robinson and I think the young man Hobbs and Dyer, great prospects, but they're just inexperienced. How are they going to hold up against Texas, LSU, Auburn, et cetera? Now, a lot of those teams are in the same position we are. That's right. Where is you say quarterback? I think the interior offensive line needs some.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
The young man we got from Notre Dame is not a center. He played center.
Yep.
But at the end of the year, he got exposed. He's a guard. Yep. And they tried to move away because Satterwhite couldn't handle it and Nick Moore wasn't ready. Sham Umarov love him, but he's average at best of a college football player, and I don't think he's SEC quality, quite frankly. And then you're moving the tackles around. Where are your interior offensive linemen to protect a brand new quarterback? That's where I'm coming from. Where's the experience? People talk about last year. Well, they got it right on the offensive, on the wide receivers. I agree. I thought they should have gotten more wide receivers. They didn't, and they produced, and they were right. But we also talked last year about the safety position, and they did nothing. They got Colton Hood. Where was the linebacker? But they didn't address that either. And it showed tremendously last year. So that's where my concern. If you stack up, if you go another 8-4 or less, that means 3 of the last 4 years, Heupel will be 8-4 or worse. In this game of instant gratification from boosters,
yep.
ADs, et cetera,
yep.
I don't understand what he's doing.
Yeah, I love the hire, what they've done with Penn State. This thing, the approach on offense has just, I don't get it. I don't get this quarterback thing at all. This 2026 schedule, they're playing for keeps now in the SEC. It's a 9-game schedule, okay? And look how hard that damn thing is. And people keep saying, look, GMAC, listen. If they thought he was the answer, they wouldn't be out there trying to find a quarterback. They wouldn't have been out there flirting with the Arizona State quarterback the other night, offering him north of $5 million. My question is, if you're going to do that, why weren't you doing that on the front end? And why didn't you just go identify somebody and get him secured like a lot of teams did? The kid from Old Dominion was available. Great fit for your offense. Why is he to Wisconsin? Why is Wisconsin so far off the radar right now? You can't find them. You can't find Wisconsin with a search warrant. Why is that guy at Wisconsin now?
Yeah. Sorry to step on you,
You're
but
fine.
You got a $9 million quarterback whisperer as a head coach.
Yeah.
You just gave a raise to your buddy to $1.4 million.
Yes.
We've watched quarterback evaluations in recruiting that just haven't panned out.
Yes.
Mark Winger. And now you're telling me all that money, all that attention from these experts, and you don't have a quarterback that's ready. And that's not my observation. You've tried to get Perdula.
Yeah.
You tried to double dip. You tried to pull Simpson out of the NFL draft.
Yes, which is good.
You've come back with a couple of Hail Mary offers to the kid that ended up with LSU.
Yep.
Why I can understand a true freshman, but why isn't GMAC ready? Well, he's not heavy enough. Okay, you know what? He was the same size in high school.
So
why don't we have a quarterback that's ready?
I don't know. This thing's wild. It's going to be to see what they do here because they're up against it. Watson Brown joins the fray. We talk about it. That my conversation with Pickle went very long. I'm glad we stayed in there till the very end because one nugget he gave us is this Grunkemeyer guy hadn't signed anything yet. Now, is this Grunkemeyer guy playing the game? Because Pickle said he fits Tennessee's offense. Miller tells me he fits Tennessee's offense. He's a highly accurate guy. who can throw the ball downfield. This thing, and then who else is out there? Brian just looked up the Montana State quarterback, this Lampson guy, who still has one more year left, and he just won a national championship at his level. You can laugh at that if you want, but this Chambliss guy last year was an absolute nobody on his way to Temple before Lane Kiffin picked the phone up and called him. And in the summer, talked him on the Ole Miss's campus. Now, you got a finite window here, or do you? Can you sue? If you're Tennessee and you decide, you get into the spring and you go, my God, we're really in trouble. Can you just break the barrier and talk somebody into the portal and say, hey, look, we'll see you in court? Of course, we're afraid of our own shadow, which is why we're quote unquote playing by the rules, whatever the rules are. That's what they're telling people with money here. I don't know. I didn't do it, but we continue with more. This place drives me nuts because I really like this coach and I want him to make it. But, man, you look at this thing. You look at that schedule next year. Look at it. I'm not being an alarmist. I'm not. I'm calling balls and strikes on here, and I don't want this guy to strike out after this.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fanrun Radio.
It's the hottest post-game show on the planet. Garza Law. Fifth quarter fan reaction. Fan reaction. As soon as the final gun sounds, we're live.
Score a TD every time with T3 Vodka. T3 is Tennessee's premium vodka, handcrafted with passion, precision, and a whole lot of pride. T3 Vodka is taking the Volunteer State by storm. T3 Vodka, handcrafted in the majesty of the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, where quality isn't just a promise, it's a way of life. Filtered 10 times and 80 proof. T3 Vodka delivers a smoothness that's unmatched. This dedication to excellence has already earned T3 Vodka prestigious accolades. T3 is a 5-time gold medal winning vodka and the 2025 SIPS Consumer Choice Award medal winner. Whether you're sipping it neat or on the rocks or mixing up your favorite cocktail, T3 Vodka is your choice for a premium, award-winning experience. Score a T3 TD and ask for T3 Vodka by name at restaurants and wine and liquor stores today. Drink it neat, drink it right, drink T3 Vodka and score a touchdown every time. T3, Tennessee's premium vodka. Distributed by Athens Distributing Company. Please drink responsibly. When it's time for a fresh coat of paint, run, don't walk to Walker's Painting. Interior and exterior, Walker's Painting's been making it beautiful since 1999 across the Knoxville area. New construction, repaints, commercial, residential, free estimates available. And get this, mention you heard Walker's Painting on the Basilio Show, 10% off your first job. Let's go! Run, don't walk to Walker's Painting. 865-688-1410. That's 865-688-1410. Walker's Painting, making it beautiful since 1999. Check out the ad at the blog at tclub.team. Walker's Painting.
Hi, I'm Jim Simpson, owner of Simpson Meats. When's the last time you grilled a really good burger or steak? One your friends still talk about. Our goal at Simpson Meats is to make that happen every time you have a cookout. All of our cuts of meats, steaks, burgers, briskets, and pork are always fresh, flavorful, and sustainably sourced. We are family owned, so we know the importance of knowing how and where your food is raised. We have been putting quality first since 1888. Visit our butcher shop off Lovell Road or online at simpsonmeats.com.
Okay, so we really need uniforms and equipment for this season. Can I trust you with that? Cool, I'll just order them online. What? Yeah, I'm gonna hop online and I'm gonna get them ordered. Hold up, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't just spend money on some random online retailer, okay? I mean, it seems pretty convenient. Trust me, it's a terrible idea. Let me simplify this for you. SM Athletics. Okay, how do you pronounce it? SM Athletics? They're the go-to for uniforms and equipment, whether it's for universities, high schools, youth leagues, you name it. So why wouldn't you rather go with professionals who can guide us through the process, design the perfect uniforms, and deliver the best equipment? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What's the name again? SM Athletics. Right. It's definitely smarter to go with a company that emphasizes customer service, fair pricing, and, of course, excellent products. Exactly. So, yeah, I guess it's settled then. For uniforms and equipment for all sports, it's SM Athletics.
When a dangerous, overgrown, or storm-damaged tree is threatening your home, your car, or your family, don't risk it. Call ECR Total Landscapes, your local tree-cutting experts. From precision tree removal and trimming to emergency storm cleanup, ECR Total Landscapes has the equipment and the experience to get the job done safely and efficiently. Call today to set up your free estimate, 865-384-2012, or just go online to ecrtotallandscapes.com.
Basilio here for Budget Transmissions. TGMD, the great Matt Dixon, took his Ford Escape to budget, and like our gold bullet back in the day, it was a total mess. And now, Matt's back in the game. He's got a new transmission, axle, wheel bearing, both radiator hoses, engine mounts, coolant hoses. I mean, his Ford Escape was about to escape to the junkyard, but he didn't begrudge it. He took it to budget, and now he's on his way back to Omaha. Budget Transmissions, over 30 years in business, conveniently located in Bearden. All extended service contracts are honored. A gold certified Repair Pal member. 865-584-4391. 865-584-4391. Budget Transmissions. Don't begrudge it. Take it to budget.
Josh Collins at Collins Insurance Agency. At Collins Insurance, we strive to ensure our customers receive better coverage along with bigger savings. Our community is important to us. We want to provide exceptional service to our customers. Anybody can provide great rates, great coverage, but can you also get great service? And hey, don't just take my word for it.
What's up, everybody? Zakai Ziegler here. My family turns to Collins Insurance Agency for the best service, coverage, and price.
So don't just go online and get some random insurance. Experience the Collins Insurance difference.
Like he said, experience the Collins Insurance difference. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. And hey, their Mama ZZ approved. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. Thank you to Josh Collins and ZZ.
One more thing, Tony. Go Vols!
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues. Every bet type you can imagine. Live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
VIP Play coming soon. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and located in Tennessee to bet.
Hey there, Basilio crew. Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. The holiday season is here, and if your plans include unwrapping your new home, then take advantage of less competition and motivated sellers while others are out fighting over parking spots at the mall. Smart buyers are out snagging deals on great homes, and I'm ready to help. Give me a call, 865-694-5904, or reach out at nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and as always, go Vols!
Well, this is kind of fun. My provider's not letting me connect with the great Watson Brown. So he calls me. We'll see what happens here. But it's an interesting thing. Just to hit the reset button for you here, we had Greg Pickle on last hour talking about the additions from Penn State. They're wonderful. The cornerback that Tennessee got from Auburn is a very good football player, very quality football player. I think that what Tennessee's done in the portal thus far on the defensive side of the ball is pretty sufficient, and they've taken a step forward. Now the question becomes, who's your quarterback next year? That's kind of a big question in college football. That's if you'll notice, if you look at the board right now, 25 of the top 26 quarterbacks have come off the board. But here's the good news. There's really a couple pieces of good news. The good news is nobody knew who Trinidad Chambliss was 1 year ago, and there will be a Trinidad Chambliss in college football right now. Nobody knew who Diego Pavia was 2 years ago, and there will be a Diego Pavia emerging from the clutter. How do I know that? Because it's going to happen. Some people are suggesting the quarterback from USC. The quarterback from USC didn't play this year. He's a one-year guy who jumped into the portal because he didn't have a future at USC, and you don't need an inexperienced quarterback. What was the saying, Brian, that yesterday that our guest from Alabama shared with us? That's the mantra that is repeated by the Indiana coach all the time. Productivity over potential. That ought to be stamped in every locker room in America in college football in the transfer portal era. Give me somebody that has been productive at any level of college football over somebody that has potential. Give me somebody, it's the truth. If you've proven there that you can play, then chances are you can play. Now, I was talking to Kelly Holcomb yesterday, and he brought up something that's a very interesting thing about this, which is there is and I was wanting to get into this with Watson. Hopefully we can connect with Watson. But there is a real, seems to be, there's a narrow window in the Southeastern Conference that they want you to fit in physically before they deem that you can play in the league. And Trinidad Chambliss colored outside those lines. So did, you know who else colored outside those lines? Diego Pavia. Those two guys colored outside those lines. Why won't more of these coaches, do you think, guys, open up the population and the possibilities in light of what Diego Pavia did in the league and what Trinidad Chambliss just did at Ole Miss? Why aren't more of these coaches involved with more of these Power 4 guys, or Group of 5 guys, rather? Why don't you give these guys a chance?
I think it's initially a hard sell optically. And there's not a guarantee that, any of these guys are going to work. I mean, it's the thing is, people can reference Pavia, can reference Chambliss. What you can't reference is all the guys that didn't work out, because I don't know who they are.
That's right.
They didn't work out.
No, it's a great point. But
when you're making $9 million, you want as close to a sure thing as you can get.
Watson Brown joining, and Watson, Tennessee's in a real pickle here. And by the way, we just had a guest, Greg Pickle from Penn State, who told us all about the wonderful additions Tennessee's made on defense. But now they're in a spot where they played too much public footsie the other night. They had the Pribula, whatever his name is. They had him committed. Basically, he was in the boat. He was coming here. But they kind of dallied around and sort of messed around. And the kid just said, you know what, I'm going to go to Virginia. And so they're, George Plaster yesterday, I'm on with him. He said it almost feels like a game of musical chairs where you're the kid at the party and everybody just sat down, and then it's, you're the kid without a chair to sit on. It kind of feels that way right now. Watson, I bring you in, presented by our friends at Simpson's Meats, against the backdrop that the clock is ticking. Tennessee obviously is on the phone. They've got a deadline now to talk somebody into the portal of Friday is your deadline. And we know this by their actions. Coaches always tell you, Watson, what they're thinking by their actions. They were trying to really get this kid from Arizona State. They made 2, 3, 4 runs at him. Lane Kiffin came up here to the airport and got him and made a public spectacle out of it because he's Lane Kiffin, and he'll never grow up, but that's all right. Watson, welcome in. The Vols are really up against it here. Don't you wish you were coaching right now in the transfer portal era?
No, thank you. I'm sure that I would have had to learn to adjust. You don't stay around if you don't, but no, it doesn't excite me. And not only when you're recruiting a guy now, it's the dollars first, and then what else is involved to get him. If somebody's paying the same amount you are, what else is it that's going to turn him on to get him? And the time frame is so different. We'd have a year to hunt the right quarterback we wanted to sign in a class. They have 2 weeks, and I know you don't wait till the 2 weeks.
Right.
They got all kinds of people in the building watching all kinds of quarterbacks. I get that.
Right.
100% understand. A whole bunch of people are spending all day long doing that. But at the same time, when that time frame is so small and you've got to make decisions, I always told our coaches, if we're going after a 3 technique, I want 5 guys we got a shot at for one spot. I don't want 1 for 1. You make sure we got 5 guys to recruit for this one spot, and we'll hit one of those 5, and we'll try to have a pecking order. Sometimes that pecking order gets blown up. You know, when you got one ready to commit and he's number 3, what do? Do you let the other 2 go? So I've been through all this. I understand it.
Yep.
But at the same time, you've got to make quick decisions, and even quicker than I ever had to make. And they're making quick decisions, guys, often not knowing these kids. All you recruiting people in the building that are watching tape and trying to find out about a kid and all of this and talking to agents or whatever, but you still haven't had time to get to know the kid, the family. Like I told you last week, I visited Alabama 6 times. 6 times. And all kind of different things when I'd visit. When I would go to Tuscaloosa, all different people I'd meet with or be around and watch practice and sit in the locker room with the players and all the different things. And Kenny Stabler was the quarterback there, and talking to him and him telling me what it's like to come to Alabama. There's so much more that went on in those days that in today's world with this portal, you're playing craps. I mean, you really are. You're taking big chances in short amount of time, and it's really honestly scary to me because I've never been through anything like that.
I know, and that's the thing. It's like there is no roadmap. The guys that are going to be able, the guys that are going to survive in this deal, Watson, are the guys that are going to be able to really navigate and really put up with a lot of nonsense, you know. And I just, I look
and be mighty lucky.
Yeah.
Be mighty lucky. You hit a whole bunch of the right ones.
Yeah.
As Indiana did or whatever. I mean, you got to be lucky.
Yeah.
It's yeah, there's a process to it in all you do, but you're going to have to be right on the ones that you picked in a short period of time without knowing them. With knowing them on tape.
Now
but not knowing them personally.
You're throwing a Hail Mary now. You're in that spot Tennessee's in. Miami's in that spot. Tennessee's in that spot. Oregon at least has a guy on the roster that's a kid that they like, that they can play. And, you know, the Vols are kind of in a spot here, and we've talked about it with George, and, you know, he hasn't gained the sufficient weight. And the reason we know that, Watson, is you can judge these guys by the way they behave. You're not chasing the kid from Arizona State the way they were chasing him if you're content to let George McIntyre be your quarterback next year. That's just not – that's the reality of this, right? These guys are going to tell you how they feel by their actions. That's pretty much a fair assumption, yes?
Well, it looks that way, yes. I think they wanted one. I think they didn't want to have a long-term one. They'd rather have a one-year guy maybe. And,
yeah, one-year guy.
And,
yep.
And hope that McIntyre fills out and does the things he needs to do, and everything works out that way. I think that's when they first started. I think honestly that's what they were looking for, and it's tough, and they go quick, man.
Oh, they went off the board
you're not looking at one school after these guys. What? Maybe 20, 25 quarterbacks in the portal that were solid players.
Feeding frenzy.
That they knew were solid players, and so. You also, I promise you right now, they're back looking at FCS guys. They have no choice but to do that now, and maybe the little bit, the first ones that seem to want to go are just like high school. It's all height, weight, foot speed stuff.
Yep.
And that's all. It's all important. I get it, because I probably had, I'm going to guess 20 quarterbacks that were really good players through my career of 40-something years. 20 really good quarterbacks. And I think of those 20, maybe 4 of them were over were 6'2" or over. So I've played with a lot of the shorter guys, but in my day, I was hunting the athlete. And everybody says, well, why don't more people take the shorter guys? It's not the shorter guy. It's a shorter guy that makes all the plays. And that's not an easy guy to find either. I mean, you've got to find that guy. And I had to take some of those because I couldn't get the 5-star guys where I was in coaching. And so I would study the little bit shorter one and make sure he can make plays. And everybody's wanting to talk right now about, well, there's been 2 in the SEC this year that are short kids.
Yeah.
So why are more people not doing it? Because you've got to find this guy that's shorter.
Right.
But he's also making plays against really good players. You got to see that. You don't just go take a short guy. You're going to see him make those plays. And you ain't going to take him in camp. You want to see him have to move in the pocket and slide around and throw in angles off of sideways because the guy can block it if you're trying to throw through him. And there's so many things to that. And let's talk about those 2 guys that we're talking about.
Yeah.
The guy at Ole Miss was a Division II champion who they brought in to be the backup. They didn't bring him in to be the starter. They brought him in to be the backup. He ended up, they loved him when they got him there. And as soon as Simmons got hurt, he went in and never gave it up. But he was not brought in to be the guy. I can promise you that. And Pavia came in, if you remember, at Vanderbilt with late. He came in the summer, and the New Mexico State coaches were already there, the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And they'd already taken a guy and given him the money from, I think, Utah. Vanderbilt's guy they wanted to be the guy was from Utah.
Yeah.
And Pavia came in and beat him out. And then that guy was gone 6 months later. So go back and look at the history of the 2 that were taken.
No, you're right.
I don't think either one of them were the man when they took him. Pavia made his money after he earned it. He wasn't given a ton of money to come there. The guy from Utah was given $1.4 million or something to come, and he beats him out. And so neither one of those 2 kids now were top dogs when they walked in the door getting the big money.
Watson Brown joining. Yeah, my hope is that Heupel somehow can land on his feet. He's done it a couple times. Hey, look, when they inherited Hendon Hooker and they tried to recruit over him his first spring here, and the guy became a revelation, that's an example of that. When they inherited Joey Aguilar last year and basically what was a trade / what we would say, call like a shotgun marriage of college football there, a marriage of convenience.
Very lucky on that
and
one.
They got
very
lucky. And they got
that.
very lucky on that one. And maybe it'll strike 3 times here because I'm afraid it's going to have to for the 2026 season. As Watson is presented by our friends at Simpson's Meats. Let me tell you about Simpson's Meats, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1888, they've been making it happen. Moving right to left across your device. The great Jim Simpson. Shout out to Jim. Thank you for the support. And I realize hundreds in our audience have given our friends at Simpson's Meats a real shot. And they've really grown, and we're really growing, and everybody's sort of growing together. You know why? Because we both have great products. Theirs is very good, and I'm pretty proud of what we're doing right here about now. Whether it's the steaks, the burgers, the sausages, the roast, the chicken, they've got you covered. And here's the thing. This stuff is sourced on farms on purpose. You will taste the difference. There is no fillers. It's not shot up. It's not, this, you will absolutely taste the difference, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. And they will ship anywhere in the world. There are gift boxes available. Premium, they will ship premium meats anywhere in these United States. Simpsonsmeats.com. Also, they've got a great shop, West Knoxville off Lovell Road. Check them out at Simpsons Meats, simpsonsmeats.com. And Watson Brown's been enjoying his latest package from Simpsons Meats. And how far into it, Watson, are you right now?
I get through it pretty quick, Tony.
Uh-oh.
Well,
you let me know.
So good.
You let me know when we're ready.
So good.
You let me know when you're ready. Here's the thing. Yeah.
You just don't want to go and buy anything else after you've eaten it. And so I'm spoiled. You spoil me now, and they spoil me for sure. But You spoil me, and now I don't want to eat any other steak, hamburger, whatever it is. It's just there is a difference, and just go try it. That's what I say that in a very honest way, not in a commercial way. I say you try it, and you're going to keep eating it.
So Watson, Tennessee needs kind of a 1-year player. That's what they need here. The hope is either G-Mac gains weight and develops, and he's a third-year guy, and he can be a gathering storm, kind of like Ty Simpson was for Alabama last year, or the other hope is that this Faison, you really hit on him, and away you go. You get him a year older and bigger. Can you speak to, because I think fans don't understand this, basically what I hear about the McIntyre kid is he's basically the same weight he was out of high school when they got him. Like he's just not gaining weight. And for some guys at that age, that's a reality. People's bodies and metabolisms, it happens at a different rate for different people. I was a string bean till I turned like 25, Watson, and then everything I ate went right to my rear end and my stomach. So share with me.
Well, they don't want that to happen to McIntyre.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's not what they want out of this deal.
Share with me the importance of and why a staff, though they think a guy's got the intent, got the ability to play, don't want to put him out there till he gains weight. What is the thought behind that at this level?
I don't know that I ever had one of those. They could be undersized and they might have been real thin, but I'd still play them. I just felt like protect them. Maybe I'm not going to let him carry the ball like I would another one. And do my best to protect him. But if he's good enough, if he's playing well enough with his weight, then I didn't let it faze me. Play him. Just find ways to protect him the best you can. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. Now, if his weight is keeping him from playing up to the ability, and I've had some of those, if his weight's keeping him from being a really good quarterback in the SEC just yet, that's part of the issue. That's a different story. That's why I don't think they're just going nuts here. I think they love the kid, and if they end up getting caught and they got to go through spring and hope a graduate student's around, there's only one thing that they could possibly bring in late.
Yep.
Okay, but I think they do really like him, or they would have maybe even signed 2 out of this class.
Oh, I know they like him. I know they
one.
like him. Yeah, they're just afraid of playing him because he hasn't, they just.
Well, I'm different than that. I've played them, and I've made it through years with some of those kind of guys. So I'm not as hung up on that. I know he's thin, but I've watched him make plays, and I like him, and I would be different, and I think they will be if they don't get anybody. They're going to play him, and they're going to find ways to try to protect him if they don't hit the right one. Yeah. And, Tony, just to run out to sign one here in the last 3 or 4 days here, if you're going to do that, he's going to be a backup for you that you can put in the mix and have him if it were to be an emergency and you have to play him. But I wouldn't just go sign one to say he's going to be our guy if I don't really like him. I wouldn't do it. I just would not do that.
It's a very interesting predicament Tennessee's in. And listen, speaking of getting lucky, I was told that last year the plan was, check this out, the kid from California who was a 2-star quarterback who ended up at Indiana was supposed to go to Auburn. And Auburn fell in love with the kid from Oklahoma when he went into the portal. And the fish bit the shiny lure at Auburn and got caught.
Well, and it cost him his job.
Yeah, and he's out of the deal now.
It cost him his job.
And the guy...
You've got to make right decisions on that position, buddy.
Yeah.
And it ain't just how much money you spend.
No.
Now you're getting burned 2 ways, Tony. You're getting burned by he doesn't play well, and you're getting burned that you eat a lot of your money up on him.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
Players, there's a second piece to this now.
That's exactly right.
That wasn't there before, and so you better make the right decision there because he's a quarterback and nothing else. He can't go from a backup wide receiver to a safety, or a quarterback's a quarterback. That's it. That's all that they can do. So it's such an important position. Look at Indiana. as good as their team is, if they hadn't hit Mendoza, and honestly, he wasn't a top come out.
No.
If they hadn't hit on him and picked the right one, they would not be anywhere where they are right now. Not anywhere close. They got a better one this year. The kid coming from TCU, probably more thought of than Mendoza was.
Yeah, he's a nice player. Go ahead, Brian.
They're almost at a point where a quarterback they bring in probably wouldn't be necessarily guaranteed to start because of what's maybe left out there. They'll just have to come in and compete. Do you think they're at that point now, or will they be there very soon? And what about? I want to ask you about the quarterback from Montana State that just won a FCS national championship. I believe is Dave Lamson, or what's his name? Justin Lamson.
Justin Lamson, yeah.
Yes, right.
They're real close, Brian, to saying, look, we've got a good player here. Let's go with him and let's find one more to put in the mix instead of having to go find another freshman late to bring in. Let's find one in the portal that's a little older and experienced and put him here in the mix if we have to put him out there as a backup or whatever. Because if McIntyre were to get hurt, you've got to have somebody that's good enough not to ruin the rest of the season. So, yeah, I think all of those things are being talked about. I like the kid, watching him just play the one time the other night in the national championship game, if that's the kid you're talking about. I think it is. And I thought he was a good player and made plays at critical times. I thought he was one of those kind of guys that seemed to step up when he needed to step up. He was inconsistent that night and missed some throws. He's got good feet, but he's been in a fantastic league on that level. He's been in good competition and was in a lot of critical big games this past year. So that would be one I would look at for sure.
Yeah, somebody
Coach,
said,
let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Coach, let me ask you this if I could. What about the implications of spring ball? You got two scholarship quarterbacks now this year that Faison couldn't come in during bowl practice. And so for spring practice, can you get everything you need to get done with a couple of young guys? I mean, that seems to be limiting what wide receivers can get done, what tight ends can get done, et cetera, just because unless you have a slew of really talented walk-ons, I don't know that you have the bodies to get done everything in spring you want.
You can get done with two guys that are capable of playing for you. Now, to do all the different drills and that, we always had really walk-on kids do most of that anyway if a coach couldn't throw or whatever. So, but two is plenty. You're not going to let them get hit. They're not going to get touched in spring practice.
Okay.
I would like to have a third one, but you can do it with two. I've done that before. A lot of times my first year to go somewhere to a new program, that would happen. And we had signed maybe a couple of freshmen or something that would be in the summer. But, yeah, I've had to do that before. The key at that position over a tailback or a receiver or something, not having enough of those, is the physicality piece. The quarterbacks are not going to get hit in the spring, or mine never did.
One piece of breaking news, Jack Van Dorselaar, tight end, has just entered the transfer portal. We said last night at the conclusion of our Garza Law Tennessee basketball overtime, I guess it was around midnight Eastern time or 11:30 or so, and we got off the air. But after that double overtime, just slog fest. What an effort by both teams. I mean, just two teams just absolutely emptied the bucket on the court in Thompson Bowling. We said two guys today we were expecting to go into the portal. That's one. The second one I think will be a defensive player. We'll see what happens. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But Watson, and this kind of begs the question, not only are you looking at the quarterback position, but you're looking at all these positions, and you basically have to rework your team in a couple weeks. I mean, this is where your whole organization gets really tested, because those that are the best organized, those that have the best analysts, those that have the best guys cutting film, those that know what they're really looking at, those are the guys that are going to succeed in this deal, yes?
Yeah, it's so different. Like I've talked to y'all about before, the assistant coach doesn't do near as much as he used to. And there are so many people in your buildings now that are isolated on certain things, and that's all they do. And now, guys, I mean, you can go into the computer, into the portal, and say, okay, give me the list of all tackles 6'6" or better. And they punch a button, and it's there. Everything is so easily to get to now than it used to be. And so they can do this. But trying to put a team together in a very short period of time, and believe me, it changes on the spot. You're sitting here through the fall, and the head coach has got a lot of things he does. That's why it's hard for him to be a play caller and things as it used to be, because part of his day is sitting in there with these people saying, where are we going to spend our money? So you're in with a group and talking that. Well, we need to spend this much on tackles. We need to. And then they'll sit there and they're also saying, how many of this are we going to take, and what's in the portal we got to look at? And let's be organized before we get to this date to go. So it's really hard, but yet doable, because there's so many more people hired than there used to be. So I think it's very doable, but you got to be highly organized as a head coach and put all of this together. The other guys, I think you've got the advantages now. Everybody's getting money. Everybody's getting money, and they're putting it in the collective or whatever you want to call it. But the ones that are really in great shape, they've got one guy that they can pick up a phone and say, I need another $1 million for this quarterback now. And he says, okay. He sends it to the collective, and there it is. Those guys with this Cody Campbell and Mark Cuban, and when they've got a guy like that, because it changes so fast, guys. You're just going to say, well, we got to spend it. All of a sudden, maybe Sam Levitt wanted another $500,000 or another $1 million. And when you're going back to 15 people that have put into this collective or whatever, and one of them's not willing to do that, but if you got one guy that is totally in with you, and when you make that call, he says, you got it. That's the difference maker with some of these schools right now. And if you don't have that guy to meet, or maybe a couple of those guys, I'm not sure it's as easy to do this in this portal time that everybody's got to do it in.
The great Watson Brown breaking it down scientifically. All right, Coach, you pretty much called the playoffs so far. I'll give you max credit here. This Indiana bunch, I mean, when they rolled out there Friday night, Watson, did they mean business or what? Do they have advanced film on people? That DB,
I don't know.
That DB, Watson, I'm asking now. I'm being half serious and I'm kind of half not. That DB knew where that play was going before the wide receiver, Watson. Talk about jumping a route.
I'm not even hinting that there's some form of cheating going on. I just don't believe that.
No, that was some super duper preparation.
You train your players.
Yeah.
They're so trained on the breakdowns of who you're playing.
Yes.
And they're believe me, as long as you've gone in the year, you end up with tendencies, and the schools that are good at figuring those out. And a lot of times, Tony, offensive people, I look back on now, and I would have done more. What offensive guys, and I did it for years, it don't look at all of the formations and everything they do. Look more at the concept of the play and how they run one play but about 1,000 different looks and ways.
Yep.
And once you figure that concept out, then you got a much better chance of stopping them. And we all, as offensive coaches, have concepts, and you just do. You can't grab bag and have 100 different pass plays. You've got to have concept within your passing game, and certain runs that you're going to run, and don't get hung up in all the candy and go out on the practice field and stop those running plays. Sometimes I think just line up in the plays, don't have all the candy even with it to start when you first start getting ready for a game. And just how are we going to play the counter with the guard and tackle pulling? Are we going to get underneath the block with our end? Are we going to stay on the outside shoulder and make the ball break back inside? Blah, 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 blah. I think Indiana does a great job of preparing on both sides of the ball. And they've got a much older team that can handle all the stuff you throw in their brain. And they can take it to the field on a weekend and not be thinking, but react to what they see because of what they've been trained to do all week. I just see them better at all of that than everybody else. They're just more consistent in what they're doing, and that's why I think they're going to win the whole thing. I think the two best teams are playing each other. I think the two best teams in the playoffs are playing each other. It worked out that the two best ones won. Miami, I don't think, is near as good on offense as Indiana is. I think both defenses are very, very similar. Maybe Miami's pass rush is even better than Indiana's, but both defenses are really good. Indiana runs the football so well. They just run the ball well. They look like a well-oiled machine, man, and they knock you around. You can see the fluidness of what they're doing, and they're just really good at it. So I just think that the difference will be Indiana's offense. And Indiana flat does not turn the football over. They just don't turn it over.
They don't even commit penalties.
You got to beat those boys.
Watson,
you got to beat them.
Watson, they don't even commit penalties. Not only do they not turn the ball over, there was a couple opportunities here tonight, because I'm used to watching the Vols, this year. There are guys near the sidelines, okay? And you see so many times defenders in college football take a liberty on a guy near the sidelines and throw him into the bench, looking for that reaction from their teammates. The Indiana kids do this. They just run them out of bounds and put their hands up. They're like coached, hey, get away from them. Get the guys at the boundary, get your hands up and get away from them. They're just so well coached.
Yeah, they are. And that would be interesting to see, because his philosophy is what mine were. And there were people that gave me grief for it. I believed in sending my coaches home at night. I didn't keep them. They got up early in the morning, but if we couldn't get it done by 7 o'clock or so at night, then we had too much we're trying to do. That's the way I always felt. I read that that's what he does with his. He does not keep his coaches long. He does not practice basically over an hour and a half.
Wow.
But he's very well organized in what he's doing, and I always said to myself, I want my kids to know what to do, and I want them to be fresh. I want them to be fresh and ready to go, and I want them to know what to do. So I was a short practice guy. Now, we went fast, so you got more plays probably than a 2.5-hour practice would get. So a lot of his thoughts are what I always believed in. I never was deep, so I couldn't keep them out there long and wear them out. And I'm not saying ours always worked at all, but for him, that's what he's done, and it's worked. And there'll be a bunch of people trying to get in that building to study them, as I always did. I picked places I wanted to go and learn from, because I dang sure didn't have all the answers. And so I wanted to learn. But that building is going to be full if he'll let them in. Now, he may be one of those that won't let them in, because he seems to be a little paranoid. I don't know him at all, but he seems to be a little bit.
Oh, he's nutty now. He's nuttier than a fruitcake.
So he may not let anybody in his building. I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of people wanting to study them.
Watson,
in the way that he's put this team together, Tony, and the way he's coached them. Those two things.
Hey, Watson, love your show, man. You're the man, buddy.
Oh, I love you guys. It's always an honor.
And Indiana wins the national championship, and that should give hope to every fan base in the country, everywhere. Because here's the deal. In the modern era, if Indiana can win a natty, everybody listening to the sound of my voice in Division I football, if you're in one of those Power 4 leagues, you can win the national championship. Because nobody had a worse history.
Tony, that's why I said the lower teams, this is the best thing for them when the money came into play.
That's it.
The lower half of your conference now has a shot for the first time ever.
Thank you, Watson. And
Good to talk to y'all.
Thank you. And Cinco and Brian, I don't know why our fan base is so vehemently jealous of what Indiana's done, as some people are. You should welcome it. You should root for them. You should not root for Miami to win Monday night. You should root for Indiana to win. If Indiana can win it, we can win it. The Alabamas of the world and the Georgias of the world, and I want to talk about this on the other side. Kevin Skarbinski joined us yesterday and basically said, in not so many words, when the YouTubers weren't hating if they'd open their ears, he said it's over for Alabama. How many billionaires do you have? None. How many billionaires do you have in your fan base? None. You know what that's code for? in this era? That's code for, well, we just lost 2 of our best defenders to Ohio State. That's code for we had Holly Weird Smothers committed, but Texas came in and bought him out from under us. Or was it A&M? Isaiah Horton was bought out from under us. Was it by Texas or A&M? It all runs together for me. But the big picture remains. And the big picture is, if you're listening to me, and you're a fan of the Tide, boy, be happy. Be happy that the Nick Saban era occurred during the high-definition era, because your video is going to be well preserved, but that's all you got now is the video. And I hope you bought the T-shirts, and I hope the guy that wore the corn ring, that absolute abject moron that wore
that was a Florida fan.
That wore the championship ring.
Oh, all right,
Championship. I'm sorry, Brian. You're right. The championship ring up on his head. That guy that looked like he couldn't spell cat. If you spotted him, the C, the A, and the T. Y'all need to soak that up because it's over for you. After this. Are you currently a residential electrician? Would you like more benefits, better pay, more upside? What about a $3,000 signing bonus? Free company-paid health insurance, annual profit share, company vehicle, gas card, much more. Call Advent Electric today. Advent, known for their large commercial jobs around town, and due to high demand, they're adding additional roles for their residential department. Maybe you know a friend, family member that's a residential electrician. Spread the word. Email hr@adventelectric.com. hr@adventelectric.com. 865-588-0631 and ask for the Tony B 3K signing bonus. Advent Electric is hiring. You got to dream about buying some land and building on that land. Well, Waterside Contracting is your ticket. 25 years of making dreams come true, Michael Scott. For hundreds in our area, custom homes or remodels, Waterside Contracting will build on your lot. They do incredible work all over the area. Structural integrity, quality without compromise. It's a way of life with Waterside Contracting. Check out the wonderful work Waterside does. WatersideContractingLLC.com. When it's time for your dreams to come true. Quality without compromising. Waterside Contracting.
College football fans, Chris Fowler here with the play call. This season, go for Dose with ice-cold, refreshing Dos Equis. It's more than a single play. It's a mindset. Think of it as a 2-point conversion for real life. Taking the risk, making the bold move. Whenever we get the chance to go big, we take it. On the field and off, always go for Dose with Dos Equis.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2024 Dos Equis Lager Especial Beer. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Hi, I'm Jim Simpson, owner of Simpson Meats. When's the last time you grilled a really good burger or steak? One your friends still talk about. Our goal at Simpson Meats is to make that happen every time you have a cookout. All of our cuts of meats, steaks, burgers, briskets, and pork are always fresh, flavorful, and sustainably sourced. We are family owned, so we know the importance of knowing how and where your food is raised. We have been putting quality first since 1888. Visit our butcher shop off Lovell Road or online at simpsonmeats.com.
Tony Basilio along with the great Mark Griffin. And we're here to talk about our friends at Performance Medicine. And Griff, their slogan, stay educated, stay healthy. That's you.
Wow, I really like to think that, Tony, and I'd like to give Dr. Rogers a lot of credit because I definitely want to stay educated and healthy, and knowing that he's putting the time and effort in to make sure of my care, I want to encourage your listeners to put the time to learn and become educated and get to know Dr. Rogers and see if it can help with your health as well.
And there's a really, really easy way to do that. In fact, they've got their own YouTube channel. You can see Dr. Rogers for himself with his staff. It's called The Performance Medicine Show over at the Performance Medicine channel over on YouTube. Also, more